So welcome back guys to another video, and today I'm doing a top 10 favorite GameCube games. These are games that I absolutely love on this console that launched back in 2001. It's hard to believe it's 18 years, and it was the console that made me fall back in love with Nintendo. I have to admit, during the N64, PlayStation, Sega Saturn era, I was kind of dwindling away from Nintendo. I wasn't really liking the direction the N64 was going with the cartridges. I felt like everything was kind of dated. I didn't enjoy the controller, but they pulled me back in with this one, and it was freaking amazing. Now, there are so many great games on the GameCube that I am going to have some honorable mentions, and keep in mind, this is my list. This isn't a definitive list, but if you have your top 10, be sure to let me know with a comment below. So without further ado, let's start with number 10. So number 10 on the countdown is going to be a launch title from the Nintendo GameCube, and that is Luigi's Mansion. Now, what I love about Luigi's Mansion is it was something different, not just for the game itself, but for Nintendo. With every new Nintendo console, they usually had a Mario game at launch, and this time, it was his little brother, Luigi, and I thought that was freaking awesome, and it was a different kind of game. It was a different platformer. It was more an adventure game than capturing ghosts and filling out clues, and had a macabre kind of setting to it. I remember it wasn't a long game. I think it's about an hour long, but it was such a fun, joy-filled ride, and you know, I cannot wait until Luigi's Mansion 3 comes out this Halloween. Number 9 is going to be a Metroid Prime, a title that really took me by surprise because I have to admit, as much as I love the Metroid series, I never dived that far into it, and I didn't know how a first-person Metroid game would feel like, and it was great. I really enjoyed it. I bought this when it was on clearance at Circuit City when it was closing down. My sister's boyfriend at the time gave me a call and was like, hey, you need to come down and pick this up, and I had so much fun with this title, and I feel kind of bad and shame on me for not playing Metroid Prime 2. I haven't played that, or I haven't played Metroid Prime 3. I haven't played any of those titles yet, but I really did enjoy the first Metroid Prime. It was just absolutely awesome. And number 8 is going to be Resident Evil 4, a game that really revolutionized the series and took something that was getting kind of stale and made it some new flair. And it was crazy to think that this was at one time a GameCube exclusive. You know, a lot of folks at the time and even now talk about Nintendo as being this kiddie console, and we had Resident Evil 4 at the time, and it was just so amazing. I remember the fan base was really divided though. I remember even back then folks didn't like all the action. They wanted the survival horror. They wanted the zombies. But man, I thought it was a breath of fresh air. I thought it was freaking awesome, and so much anxiety before going to school because I would like wake up in the morning and try to go against the chainsaw guy on the carts and trying to get away from him. And I love the AI. You know, you push down the ladder, they'd put the ladder back up. It was a lot of fun, and it's great that we can still enjoy this title even on modern consoles. And number 7 is going to be Pikmin, a title that I love and low-key don't really like that much, but I love it enough to put it in this countdown because I feel like the game has a lot of charm. I'll tell you one reason why I didn't like the game so much, but I liked it because I enjoyed the strategy to it. I enjoyed getting the various different Pikmin and this like whole colony following me around and like throwing them at, you know, large monsters and killing them. And I felt a little sad when the monsters would start eating all the Pikmin and I had to grow more. And the only thing I didn't like about it is the fact that you were all on a time limit. I hate games that give you time limits, and I really didn't like that too much because sometimes it made me feel kind of rushed, and I kind of wanted to soak in the environment and see everything that was going on. And that was probably the only thing I didn't like about Pikmin, but other than that, I absolutely love this series, and this is a must-have on the Nintendo GameCube. And number 6 is going to be a really interesting bullet hell shooter where our frothing demands increases. That was a quote from IGN that was on the front cover, and I am simply talking about Ikaruga. Now, this was a very interesting bullet hell shooter that was originally on the Sega Dreamcast, and that was the thing. A lot of Dreamcast games were getting ported over to the GameCube as well as Microsoft's Xbox, but I thought this game was a lot of fun. It's really, really hard, but I like some of the strategy that this game has in the sense that you can switch between a light ship or a dark ship, and you can switch with different powers and get health and whatnot. It's a very interesting bullet hell, and I would say definitely try it out. It's now on the Nintendo Switch for like $15, and if you're a big fan of just that zen feeling of a shower of bullets and dodging every single one of them and pumping soundtracks and just crazy, you know, sci-fi goodness, Ikaruga's where to go. Now, number 5 is going to be Super Mario Sunshine, a game that some people love, some people hate, but I absolutely think that this game is very underrated. I remember I bought this one summer, and it just fit the mood because I remember going to the pool and coming back and playing Super Mario Sunshine and seeing the water. The water in this game is probably some of the best water I have seen in a game yet. It's really weird to be talking about water right now, but back to the game itself, the mechanics, using the squirt gun, using it as a jetpack, I thought was something new, something fresh. It didn't take place in the Mushroom Kingdom. It was, Island of Fino, and I thought it was really, really cool. It was a very tough game, too. There was a lot of challenges to this game, but I have to say that I actually like Super Mario Sunshine more than Mario 64. And number 4 is going to be Eternal Darkness, a game that unfortunately has just went in complete obscurity. Many folks have loved this game. It's got such a cult following, and for good reasons. This is back when survival horror was really popping, and it was just something a little different. It wasn't a Resident Evil clone, it wasn't a Silent Hill clone, it was its own entity. It was a more psychological survival horror. It had more of an H.P. Lovecraft feel to it. I was like, if H.P. Lovecraft made a game, this would be it. And one of the coolest things about this game is it had a sanity meter, that if your sanity meter started going down, the game would actually start freaking you out. I mean, there would be like bugs on the screen. I remember my sanity meter was going down, and I was trying to save my game, and it was making me think that it was deleting my memory card and formatting it. It was just so freaking wild. You could be running down and your head would just fall off. It was a really interesting game. I really hope one day, one sweet day, we get Eternal Darkness, the sequel. That'd be just awesome. Imagine playing it with VR. And number 3 is going to be The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. Now, this is actually my favorite Zelda of all time. If you guys caught my top 5 favorite Zelda games, this is my number 1. And, at the time, I remember when it was first announced, I was the same as everyone else and was really confused that it had this cell shading graphic outlook instead of the, more 3D realism or more of an Ocarina of Time kind of look. It was very different. But once I played it, I absolutely enjoyed it. I felt like I was playing a Saturday morning cartoon, and that's my biggest description to the Wind Waker. It's a Saturday morning cartoon come to life. It is so much fun, and I really enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the nautical themes, pirates, and the just sailing in the open seas. It has this really big sense of adventure, and it's freaking awesome. And number 2 is going to be Animal Crossing. Now, I know out of all the GameCube games, everyone's like, number 2 is Animal Crossing? Well, here's the thing. This was a game that I was just really highly addicted to one summer. Me and my sister would just sit there and play this game all freaking day. We would go out and do errands and come back and sit down in front of the GameCube and just keep playing and pass the controller back and forth. I remember I bought like 3 or 4 different memory cards, so we'd have different towns that we could switch fruit, and then we found out there was like password codes for Tom Nook that you put in the passwords and get other things and other items in the NES games. And unfortunately, I'm showing a lot of dated trailer footage for the game because I don't have that memory card anymore. My town was called Nintown, and I put so much effort into it, but it's long and gone. It's burnt to the ground, but the memories are still there. And yeah, I definitely am excited about the new Animal Crossing coming out next year for the Nintendo Switch. And before I get into my number 1 favorite GameCube game of all time, here are some honorable mentions. And my number 1 favorite GameCube game of all time is going to be Super Smash Bros. Melee. Now, do I really need to go in detail why Melee is freaking awesome? I mean, it's a great game within itself, but it also spawned this amazing community. I love going to watch people play Melee tournaments, and I love Smash Bros. Ultimate, but I just had this special place in my heart playing this game for nights and nights on end with my friends. I mean, I remember playing this game with a group of friends and actually falling asleep. Like, we all enjoyed this game so much, we were falling asleep while we were playing. It was so much fun. I love the adventure mode. I love all the unlockables. I love all the different challenges. This was definitely a game that I put a lot of hours into, and I absolutely love it. So anyway guys, that's my top 10 favorite games on the Nintendo GameCube. Now if you have a top 10, be sure to leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your choices. And you know, it's crazy to think with the game console being 18 years old, this could be a console that started off some people's life in gaming. I mean, some people in their early 20s, this is probably their first console they played, and that's really interesting. I was thinking about that as I was doing this video. But if you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and also hit the bell so you get notified on all future uploads on this channel. Anyway guys, as always, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and as always, happy gaming.